So our page is looking a little sparse. That's not surprising. HTML is not for making pages look good. It's for identifying what the pieces of a page are. And it's important to keep that separated. CSS is for making things look pretty. Nonetheless, we could illustrate this by using an image of some sort. So let's talk a little bit about images on the web. The key rule for images on the web is that lack of speed kills, and therefore we want our images to be of the smallest possible file size. There's lots of ways to do that. One is to use small images and use as few of them as possible. The other is to use a compressed version of an image. There are basically two image types that are used most widely on the web: PNG and JPEG. I can talk about the details, although you've probably had this in another class, so I'll simply say that JPEG is appropriate to be used for photographs, and PNG is appropriate to be used for everything else. And that, as a general rule, usually gets you most of the way. So if it's not a photograph, you probably don't want a JPEG. In some cases, if you've done alterations or have graphics involved, you still want to use a PNG for a photograph. But generally, the breakdown is JPEG for photographs, PNG for any other kind of graphics, especially those that are human created. Now the question is, how are we going to get our photograph or other thing? We could create it ourselves, which would be really the smart way to go, because then we know that we own it. But I don't happen to be able to draw very well, so I want to use a photograph. There's probably a natural tendency here to simply go to Google and to type tortoise, and then to click on Google Images, and then to find a great image of a tortoise that we can use, but we can't use this image. Almost every image on the web is owned by someone. The very rare exceptions are where it's explicitly said that it's been put into the public domain. But that's a very rare occurrence. If you see an image like this, it doesn't matter whether it says copyright anywhere on the page. This is a copyrighted image, and unless I have licensed it, I can't use it. Again, I could take the picture myself, and then I know that I own it because I own the copyright on it, but otherwise I'm going to have to figure out a way to license it. I can contact National Geographic and license this image, but it's going to cost a lot of money. So instead I'm going to go to Flickr and search there for a tortoise. Now again, when I do this search, most of these are going to be owned. You can see right down here that this says all rights reserved. In other words, I would still have to contact this person and ask them if I could buy a copy of their photograph. But there is something called advanced search here, where you can search for things that are Creative Commons licensed. These are images that already have licenses built in, and those licenses don't require you to pay in most cases. So let's take a look, for example, at this one, which has a number of tortoises. Here it says that only some rights are reserved. And if we look here, we can see what those rights are. It says that I'm free to share this image as long as I say where it came from, and as long as I don't create a derivative work. That is, I can't pull this into Photoshop and change it around. I need to say that Keith Riley Whittingham created this image, and I can reuse it if I do. So I'm going to view all sizes. I'm going to look, again, one of the best ways to limit the size of an image is to go ahead and make the actual dimensions of the image small. So I'm using 260 by 240 by 160, and you'll see that this gets me the image. And if I take a look at that image, I'll see that the actual size of the image is fairly small as well. Now the trick is we need to kind of take that image that I've just downloaded and put it into an HTML page, which we'll do in the next tutorial.